evening, Abhay. We all nearly set to start in a minute or so.
Yeah, put the screen. So, Akash, just let me know.
Can you put the old screen so we can see everybody for a second?
Okay.
Not everybody has their cameras on.
Yeah, can everybody put on camera so that we know there's somebody real behind?
Oh man. You can take the tiger out of the jungle, but not the jungle out of the tiger, huh?
Pradeep sir, we are
अभी भी
live.
चप्पल पहन के आए हैं, लाइक सिर्फ ऊपर ही पहन रखे हैं, नीचे चप्पल पहन के बैठे हैं.
पेश ट्रैवल कर रहा है मुझे लग रहा है.
Pradeep sir, we are live.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so welcome to you and I live interactive sessions that we have, and this is the fourth session. Welcome all the attendees, our batchmates, our faculty, Professor Karandikar, Professor Ganesh, and the speakers who join us today. So you and I concept started primarily where we were looking at new ways to interact, and this time from Institute to the alums. So U stands for the alums and I for the Institute, and we have informal interactive sessions. So we in the journey also have fun, and we have a specific topic that we can dwell at. So we started this, we used to have a number of offline events, online events, face-to-face events, but in each of the cases, it was always a question is, mere batch wala kaun aa raha hai? And then we said, then when we are doing this you and I, it becomes not location specific, and we can just do across the world. So we said, why not look at the batch and batchmates together, and then we have a topic which we can talk about, interact, and get the views. So this fourth interactive session of you and I, we have the batches of 93, 94, 95, 97, 98, and 99. 96 batch had the reunion in the last month, and therefore they have gone through this presentation and discussion. So welcome once again, and I will run through a short agenda and briefing, and then we'll go to the main session. So we have this fireside chat with Director Professor Karandikar, and he will take us through the thoughts behind SMRT, School of Medical Research and Technology. What is it that we then planned? Where are we, and what we intend to do? We will then look at the perspectives from the speakers from the participating batches, covering largely around the healthcare industry, but it's not limited to that. It's regulation structure, academic interaction. There will be the need around the funding, the support, engagement with the industry. And so we have a number of speakers lined up for us today. We also have an update from Kapil Kaul, who's the CEO for IITK Development Foundation, which primarily looks at how we raise funds for the initiatives that we take. And the first initiative on the table is SMRT. Then we have a Q&A led by Rajiv Swaroop, who is my co-host, and he has been instrumental in building a lot of rapport and tempo around this U&I. And finally, we have a word of thanks from our President Alum Associate I IITKanpur, Shamendra Narayan. So we have the batch coordinators, and these people have been behind the scene working to get our speakers and the attendance from the batches. We have Sanjay Kumar from 1993, and we have Tarun Pant, 94, BK Birla, 1995, then Devanu, 97, and Sachin Maheshwari, 98, and Damnesh Kumar, 99. So these people have been instrumental in getting the people that you would listen to later. And thank you all for setting this up, batch coordinators. We have the speakers across the batches, and we will start with Subir Kohli, CEO Celix Pharma Limited. I think he may have to leave early, so he's the first speaker. There's no special preference for him. followed by Atul Sharan, and he's founder and CEO of Cellmax Life. We missed him in the last session, so we invited him again to join us. This time he's based out of US. And then we have Vikas Pandawat, Associate Professor, School of Biomedical Engineering, Drexel University. We have Divanu Das, co-founder and CEO, Accelero Biostructures. Tushar Singh, Director, Commercial Excellence, Program Management Office and Genetics, Abbott Healthcare. We have Pankaj Kakkar, CEO, Healthcare and Life Sciences, Global Delivery, Tech Mahindra. We have Atul Bansal joining us, President and CEO, Chetu. Professor Mayank Tyagi, Associate Professor, Chevron, Professor Engineering, LSU. And we could pull in Ashish Karadikar also, VP Engineering, NVIDIA. Tapesh Agarwal, he's been doing multiple startups, co-founder, We Engage AI, and he's working on healthcare AI. Pankaj Mittal, co-founder, AB Hospitals. And then we have set up people, Naveen Ashish, Shasti Kumar, Jaideep Bhattacharya. They are also engaged at the moment in another, batch engagement. We'll see how we can pull them in. And it happens to be Naveen Ashish's birthday, and these people plan to give him a surprise birthday treat over the Zoom links. So he's Chief Data Science Officer, Interlink Corporation. Yashdeep, he's been engaged quite a bit also with IIT Kanpur, Vice President, Global Innovation, Striker. We have Jaideep Bhattacharya, founder and CEO. And he's also been working in the policy area. And he is also likely to be a speaker. And then we have Siddharth Nautiyal, partner, Omidyar Networks. So we have a long list of speakers. We see how to get the best out of them. We request them to have 3 to 4 minutes, talk, and where they could share their perspective, the insights, and what fundamentally they believe can make it global excellence at IIT Kanpur. Today, as a special thing, we also have a number of faculty with us who are already working in the research area within the institute, and I will read out the names. And so, Professor Shukla, Biosciences and Bioengineering, BSBE. So this department started some time back, but it's been growing fast, and there are a number of outcomes coming in, which they will share. Arjun Ramakrishnan, Professor Bushra Atiq, Professor Janardhan Rao, Professor Nitin Gupta, Animanshu Ghatak, Chemical, and Bishak Bhattacharya in Mechanical, Hamim Zafar, BSB and CSC, Shantanu Bhattacharya in Mechanical, Shri Shiv Kumar, Chemical. So these are the people who will be joining us, and some of us will also share their thoughts. So with this, I would now request Professor Karandikar to share the thoughts from his side and present to us what's happening on SMRT. Welcome, Professor Karandikar.
Thank you, Pradeep, and I would also like to extend my warm welcome to all the alumni who have gathered today from 93 batch to 99. These U&I sessions have been really phenomenal and outstanding, where we have been able to engage with alumni on this very important and ambitious project that we have launched in IIT Kanpur, which I'm today going to talk about that. Just 1 minute, I would like to take you that in recent, last couple of years, we have launched many initiatives in IIT Kanpur, and one of them has been to set up a professional development office in IIT Kanpur, which is called IIT Kanpur Development Foundation, which has been set up as a Section 8 company, which will engage with all alumni like you all donors, corporates, philanthropists, and help the institute in raising the resources. And this office will be professionally managed, and I'm really very happy to introduce you, all of you, Kapil Kaul, who has joined as the CEO of IITK. Kapil brings with him an experience of more than 2 decades in the industry, having worked in several banks like ABN AMRO, Standard Chartered, and then the last assignments that he was helping IIT Bombay's development office as the vice president there, where we pulled him in from IIT Bombay. He also helped set up IIT Delhi's endowment fund, and now he's working with us full time as a CEO. So Kapil, just wanted to speak. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Karandikar. Good evening, everyone. So it's great to connect with all of you, and these UNI sessions have been phenomenal in terms of, as Professor Karandikar said, connecting with all alumni, and the ideas that we've been getting, the support that we've been getting. It's the 4th session today, and it's really helped us come a long way. Even on the fundraising side, we've made some very, I would say, quick progress in the last couple of months, and UNI has played a critical role in that. And as as we go through the whole event, at the end of it, I'll give you a sense that how each one of you could connect and contribute to this. So
I think Kapil has been very modest, but let me just tell you that at the end of one UNI session, at least one alumnus signed up with Kapil for $2.5 million. So that's the power of the UNI. So let me just start my brief presentation. Let me just share the screen. Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so as Pradeep mentioned, we are setting up the School of Medical Research and Technology at IIT Kanpur, and this is a preliminary architectural rendering of the proposed hospital and the school. I'll just briefly talk about that. So can you see the next slide now?
Not yet.
I think we don't see it in the presentation mode. It's in the...
I think this is my friend Sandeep has to fix this platform.
No, we can see it, sir.
Can I just make it a slideshow?
Yes, you can.
So now can you see the second slide and now slides are moving?
Yes, we were seeing it even earlier.
Okay, great. So just to give you a sense of, what is really the ecosystem in IIT Kanpur. IIT Kanpur has a very strong ecosystem of biological sciences and biomedical research and engineering. The Department of Biological Sciences and Bioengineering was established in 2001. And in the last 20 years, we have actually grown stronger in general in biomedical research and medtech innovations. Several centers were set up, like Center for Nanosciences, National Center for Flexible Electronics, which are all working, in the biomedical research and medical technology. The Department of Biotechnology's BIRAC Bioincubator was also set up in 2014. 2018, the institute had set up an experimental animal facility where we can do clinical trials on the animals. In 2019, we have set up a Center for Fabrication and Testing of Medical Devices. And this is again one of its kind of center because in the country we really don't have any mechanism for testing and certification of medical devices. 2019 also we inaugurated the Mehta Family Center for Engineering in Medicine with a very generous support from the Mehta Family Foundation from Texas. This center is again going to work at the intersection of technologies in engineering and medicine. Indian Council of Medical Research also has set up the Center of Excellence in Medical Research in IIT Kanpur last year, in fact, during the COVID pandemic time. And most recently, we are setting up a very state-of-the-art national cryo-EM facility in the Department of Biological Sciences and Bioengineering. In fact, this is going to be a very expensive facility being built with an investment of 25 crore grant, which is going to come from the Department of Science and Technology. So we have a very, very strong ecosystem of basic research in biological sciences and bioengineering, applied research in biomedical engineering, and also a incubation ecosystem of medical technology and devices. So just to give you a sense of our biological sciences and bioengineering, IIT Kanpur is rated as #1 department in this domain. And its MTech program, biological sciences and bioengineering, applied research in biomedical, and the MTech program is also being rated as sort of A+. The faculty of biological sciences and bioengineering have received sort of many awards, and the most recent has been last year Professor Bushra Atiq, who was awarded the prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize in medical sciences, in fact. And unfortunately, she could not be present there today, although she had planned it to be. But there are other faculty of the department who are there. There are two research centers actually which are primarily focusing on the medtech. One, as I already mentioned, about the Mehta Family Center for Engineering in Medicine, which is focusing on regenerative medicine, molecular medicine, and digital medicine. We also have a very strong program between IIT Kanpur and King George Medical University, where our students actually go to the King George Medical University and work very closely with doctors to understand the problems that the clinical practitioners are facing and how they can be solved through the engineering techniques. So this is what a School of International Biodesign program of the Department of Biotechnology. In terms of medtech innovation and incubation ecosystems, in fact, in the last 3 years or so, 13 startups have been incubated in life sciences and medical devices, and 7 technologies have been commercialized, and they have been in all areas, whether this assistive technology or virtual reality in healthcare, or artificial intelligence in telemedicine, medical implants, and biosensors. So number of technologies have been commercialized and incubated.
Professor Karandikar,
can you stop share and start again? Just
the slides are not moving, it seems.
Yeah, please stop and start again.
So let me just, can you see now?
Yeah, can you move the slides, please?
So I moved now. Is it moving? Is it moving?
No, it is not moving, and it is not in the slideshow actually.
Yeah, now it's fine.
No, but it is not in the slideshow, so I don't know.
No, you do it in slideshow.
Huh?
Can you do it in the slideshow and then move it?
No, so I have done now slideshow. Is it moving now?
No, it is not
No,
moving.
you are not in slideshow. Maybe this is fine. Just move next.
I moved it, but
So that slideshow is. But
So
when,
I think your slideshow screen is not shared. Your PowerPoint screen is shared. That's why the problem.
so can you share entire screen and then do the slideshow? Yeah.
okay. Let me just do that.
Stop sharing. Stop the sharing. Start the entire screen and then do it.
So can you now see the slide?
Yes.
And the slide show now?
Yes.
Okay.
Just do the hide for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that. I think Sandeep, so you have to fix this bug that in the application sharing it is not possible. It's only
that, yeah, that might be the case. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
sorry. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I think, as I mentioned, that there are 2 research centers which are focusing on the medtech. I already mentioned about this. So I was just talking about that we have a very strong medtech innovation and incubation ecosystem. In the last 3 years or so, number of startups, in fact, 13 startups have been incubated in IIT Kanpur's incubator in life sciences and medical devices. And they have attracted an investment of more than 100 crores in terms of R&D infrastructure building. And these incubating company are in all sort of domains, be it in assistive technology or artificial intelligence, telemedicine, medical implants and biosensors, virtual reality in healthcare, and some of these companies are listed here. So we have a very strong portfolio of companies in life sciences and medical devices. During COVID-19 pandemic, as all of you may be aware, that IIT Kanpur formed a very strong consortium of its faculty, alumni, and the incubating company Noka Robotics. And they have developed an invasive mechanical ventilator, which has been deployed now in more than 1,000 hospitals across the country. And this is really a great success in the sense that now we have become one of the top 3 manufacturers of the ventilator in the country. So I would regard this as an important milestone. In terms of
ventilator, company IIT Kanpur, third.
The other thing is that we also set up a N95 mask manufacturing facility at IIT Kanpur, which is developing the N95 mask based upon a special nanofiber material. And this company also set up the manufacturing facility during the height of the lockdown last year in June. And till today, it has produced close to 30 lakhs masks. In fact, it is producing 25,000 masks every day. And in fact, as you can see, even the Prime Minister was seen wearing Swasa N95 mask during an important event of the Ram Janmabhoomi. So I think that is really the great success of this also during COVID-19 outbreak. So what we see is that even though we have a very thriving biomedical research activities, the lack of clinical setup on the campus has certain problems. That first of all, our studies are restricted to using animal models, and often, even though we have a significant interactions with doctors, there is always a significant delay in immediate clinical validations, and sometimes this does lead to the problem. At the same time, we believe that we have a strong portfolio of basic research, engineering in medicine, medtech research, and a world-class incubation systems. What is lacking now is just a medical program. And by having such a medical programs, it will also give an opportunity for medical professionals to sort of earn minor degrees in interdisciplinary areas also. For example, we can think of doctors doing majors in cardiology and let us say minors in CS or data sciences by doing few courses of electrical or computer science. Or we can think of doctors doing DM in radio diagnosis, but also doing a minor in image processing and those kind of things. And this is like exclusively possible in IIT Kanpur. This is not possible even in All India Institutes of Medical Sciences or other medical colleges, which are actually standalone medical colleges in the country. But if you see globally anywhere in the world, both the medical schools and the engineering schools, they actually live side by side on the campus. So our plan is to set up a School of Medical Research and Technology. In the phase 1, we have planned a super specialty hospital of about 450 beds with R&D centers of excellence in futuristic medicine. And the super specialty hospital part will be run by a separate not-for-profit company. We have already set up this company, and this company is called Foundation for Medical Research and Technology. And we will be focusing on super specialty degrees like DM or MCH or DNB or DRNB, and of course MS and PhD degrees. So this is the plan to go for super specialty hospital and School of Medical Research in the first phase. And in the second phase, perhaps we may plan for an undergraduate program or a postgraduate like MD program as well. So the phase 1 is planned in the next 3 to 5 years, while in the phase 2, we will, 10 years down the line, we may think of starting an undergraduate program. I would just like to mention here that IIT Kharagpur is going to start an undergraduate MBBS program from this academic year, like July, August 2021. So they are doing exactly opposite of sort of what we are planning to do. As far as the Center of Excellence are concerned, these are some of the centers of excellence which has come about by our extensive discussions with doctors and our own expertise that exists in IIT Kanpur in BSB, that is biological sciences, bioengineering, computer science, electrical engineering, material science, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, flexible electronics center, chemical engineering, and so on. In the super specialty hospital currently, these 8 departments have been formed, which are urology, neurology, neurosurgery, cardiology, cardiosurgery, gastroenterology, nephrology, gastrosurgery, and oncology. And these are going to be the some of the planned centers of excellence in telemedicines, AI applications, vaccine and drug developments, biomedical instrumentations, non-invasive imaging, and so on. The proposed site of the SMRT is going to be, we have allocated at 25 acres of a greenfield land on the west side of the campus. This is the main gate, and this is going to be on the other side. There is another gate here, which is connecting to the Shibli Road. In fact, in near future, this might become actually the main gate. And as a result, if the patients, if they have to come to the hospital, then they don't have to travel through the entire campus at all. They can just simply come on this side. This is a proposed architectural plan which our consultant has planned, but of course this is very, very tentative. I just gave you an architectural rendering right now. We have set up a very, very strong advisory board. In fact, today morning itself, we had the second meeting of the advisory board. We have a very eminent doctor, Dr. Devi Prasad Shetty, who is a leading cardiothoracic surgeon of the country. He is a chairman and founder of Narayana Health. He has been very closely working with us in the last 6 months or so. We have a Dr. Mamin Chandy, who is a director of Tata Medical Center, We are also engaged with Dr. Shailesh Rena, although he has not formally joined as a member of the advisory board. Then we have a Mrs. Sudha Murthy, who is the chairperson of Infosys Foundation, Mr. Ramadurai of Tata Trust, then Mr. Arun Seth, who is our distinguished alumnus and also has been very, very closely working for the last 8 months, who is a member of the advisory board, Mr. Rakesh Sharma and Mr. Saurabh Chandra. So Mr. Arun Seth, Mr. Rakesh Sharma and Saurabh Chandra, they are all our alumni, and they have been very, very closely working with us in the last 6 months or so. I just wanted to briefly tell about the status of the super specialty hospital. We have already registered a not-for-profit company which is called Foundations for Medical Research and Technology, and currently the board of this company comprises of myself, the director, Professor Ganesh, deputy director, dean of administration, and Mr. Arun Seth, who is our distinguished alumnus, also is a board member of the proposed Section 8 company. How you can all collaborate with the institute? You can help forge world-class international collaborations. Of course, you can donate financially to the school, or you can take IIT Kanpur to the potential donors. We are, of course, willing to brand name or name the school or centers of excellence and so on. I think Kapil Kohl will take you through the whole process. Our phase 1 currently has been budgeted about 450 crores, but we might go up to 600 crores. This is again a tentative plan. This includes also the working capital cost of 60 crores for running the hospital for about 3 to 4 years before we break even, as per the current financial plan. But actually, we are now reworking this, and we expect that our funding requirements may go up in the range of 500 to 600 crores for the phase 1 hospital and the school. So I just wanted to say that this school and the hospital, we are planning upon a very strong foundation of the research that IIT Kanpur faculty has been doing it in different departments in the last 10 years or so. We have a very strong focus on cancer biology with Professor Bushra Atiq and Professor Hamim Zafar. I think Hamim is here on the call. And as I said, Bushra Atiq is a recipient of the prestigious Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize last year. We have a strong focus on molecular genetics. Professor Ganesh, who is the deputy director, has been leading these efforts. Professor Jonaki Sen and Professor Nitin Gupta. So these are all working in various areas of neurosciences, be it neurobiology, mental health, computational biology. In fact, Nitin Gupta is also on the call. He was BTech computer science. He was in fact JEE #1, and then he switched to biology. So he's also another faculty in the PSB. We have some new faculty who have joined. Professor Dibyendu Das, who actually works on vaccines, and then we have Jayendran Rao and Professor Amitabha Bandyopadhyay. In fact, Amitabha is very well known in the industry, he being the professor in charge of our incubator, but he himself has a very strong focus on developmental biology, along with Professor Ashok Kumar and Professor Katti. Then we have Professor Santosh Mishra also, who has recently joined. Professor Shankar Ramakrishna, who is currently the head of biological sciences and bioengineering, along with Professor Arun Shukla. So they are all focusing on structural biology. We have faculty from even other departments also, like Professor Bishak Bhattacharya, who has been working on computational neurosciences. Professor Arjun Ramakrishna also is a new faculty who has joined recently in the department. We have Professor Shantanu Bhattacharya from mechanical engineering, who has also been working on the microfluidic RNA extractor. He is in fact also present today. And we have Professor Animanshu Ghatak from chemical engineering. He has also been working in the related areas, and I think he can talk more about it. Finally, I would like to say that if you need to contact, then you can contact Kapil, who is the CEO of IIT Kanpur Development Foundation, Rajiv Saroop, who has been helping us, with this UNI sessions also and planning the strategy for this SMRT, and of course Professor Ganesh, who is the current Deputy Director and leading the task force for setting up the school, along with Professor Jayant Singh, who all of you know as the Dean of Resources and Alumni. That's all I think I had to say. Let me just, I will be happy to take, a few questions if there are.
So I think we'll have questions a little later on. So thank you, Professor Karandekar. I think it was much more comprehensive. And I think as we are having these UNI sessions, you are already addressing many of the questions that have come in the previous thing. So one question before I would invite Subir, because he may have to leave early, is what do you think, what is the status of the current project, where we are, and what we need to do, what are the immediate actions that you have in mind?
Okay. So let me just tell you that we had actually the Tata Trust had engaged a consulting company, Hosmac, which had prepared the detailed project report, including the financial plan and the feasibility plan. And all these numbers, which I said, were based upon the DPR and the feasibility reports, which were shared by Hosmac. We have now engaged with the Hosmac for coming up with the detailed architectural plans and other plannings. Currently, we are going for various regulatory and environmental clearances which are required for setting up such a hospital. We have already registered a Section 8 company, not-for-profit company, which will be running the operations part of the hospital. And we are in the process of now setting up the R&D centers of excellence, which will be as a part of the academic setup of IIT Kanpur. And we are in the process of raising the funding, which is the most important part for the school. As I said, we want to set up the school primarily through the funding from the private sources, from the corporate donations, philanthropists, from various alumni. As we speak today, we have a commitment of close to, I would say, close to 120 crores. However, so we need to bridge the gap of another 200 to 300 crores. And these 120 crores are from alumni, one alumni donor and one corporate which have come forward. And we are now actively working to close another 100-150 crores in the next 1 or 2 months. And with that, I think we will be good to go in the sense that we can actually start building the whole school. So I think that's where we are. And as I already mentioned, that we are being advised and guided by very top medical professionals, which includes, as Dr. Devi Shetty. He's a leading cardiothoracic surgeon, and in fact, today he spent, for example, 2 hours on our advisory board meeting in the morning. And we are also collaborating. We have also begun collaborations with companies such as IBM and also, a few international universities. So that's where we are.
Excellent. I think there's been a great progress made in the last 2 months, as you said. Plus, we see the teams working, in coordination, and that's really great. So we will have more questions later on. Right now, I would take a little break with moving to Alam's side of the story, and we will have our first speaker before we go back and see if we have some research members also speaking to us. So please welcome Subir Kohli, CEO, Celix Pharma Limited. His key expertise has been working in Europe pharma industry and working across the channels. He has worked in multiple geographies, but he's working on affordable, high quality and suitable generics. So please welcome Subir to share his thoughts with us. Yes, Subir. We can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
And yeah, perfect. Great. Thanks very much. Strange to go first. Not sure what exactly I'm expected to say. So yeah, you put me in a bit of a spot there. But no, very, very impressed with what I'm hearing, Professor Karandikar. It's very impressive. The whole SMRT initiative is brilliant. I wasn't aware of this. I wasn't even aware of the UNI sessions. I've just heard from you that this is the 4th session that you've organized. This is the first one for me. So it's very interesting to kind of follow what's going on campus in this incubation center. It's phenomenal, actually. I'm very, very impressed. So I don't know. I'll just talk a little bit about me, what I do, and what I want to see going forward. How can Celix as an organization collaborate going forward? But broadly, I think you mentioned in the introduction. I live in London. I'm based here. Celix Pharma is based out of the UK. Going back many years after finishing IITKanpur mechanical engineering, I worked for a couple of years in financial services, then went on to do an MBA from IIM Bangalore. And as part of my studies, I was in Copenhagen, worked with Novo Nordisk for 6 months on an exchange program. And that's how I actually got into pharmaceuticals. And Novo Nordisk is one of the biggest insulin manufacturers in the world. So that was my kind of first taste for pharmaceuticals, then went back, finished my MBA program. And since then, I've only been working in the pharmaceutical space. So that's all I pretty much know. So like I said, my background is pharmaceuticals. And when you say pharmaceuticals, it's the whole spectrum, right from your new chemical entities, new biological entities, all the way to, let's say, generic commodity products. And we play in different parts of the spectrum. Celix Pharma at the moment is more on the generic side, so looking at both chemical as well as biological entities, so biosimilars as well as generic chemistry based molecules, and we partner with different companies globally in terms of research and development and manufacturing. So I think that's pretty much when I look at SMRT, when I look at the kind of very, very impressive faculty you kind of put together there. When I look at the hospital that you're putting together, there is a lot of collaborative work that can go on between the industry and the center, and that's what's kind of making me think harder about how we can go forward with companies like myself, like ours, based here in the geography where we identify opportunities and gaps in the market, but we still need partners for both clinical research and manufacturing. And then how do you kind of bridge the gap between development, both chemical entities, biological entities, and manufacturing, which is a little bit more of where chemical engineering comes into the play. So yeah, I know I'm really clearly going to be tracking and following what SMRT does going forward. And thoroughly enjoyed the introduction, and looking forward to seeing what more we can do together. So I'm going to stop here because we've got a fantastic lineup of speakers as well. But any questions or anything, I'm more than happy to connect offline as well with people.
Professor Karandikar, any question from your side?
No. I think thank you, Subir. I think I just wanted to mention that of course SMRT would like to partner with many industries, and also we are also partnering with many programs of the Government of India also. Right. In fact, as you know that the government also has launched in a very big way a digital health mission program. And the current CEO, it so happens that the current CEO of National Health Authority is also an IIT Kanpur alumnus, and we would be actually engaged with them because this itself gives a huge opportunity for working with a lot of data will that get created as a part of the digital health mission program. So yes, we are very closely working with that, and I think we will be very happy to work with any of you that is interested to work with us.
Yeah, fantastic, brilliant. Thank you very much. No, appreciate it. That's really impressive. Keep going.
So thank you for joining us. And Professor Karandikar, would you like to have some speakers from faculty?
Yeah, so Pradeep, I mean, a couple of my colleagues are here on the call, so maybe I'll just request them to say like 1 or 2 minutes, not more, because we are really, as you know, you rightly said that we are having a very packed schedule. So, let me start with some of the youngest faculty members. So I have with Hamim Zafar. Hamim, are you there? And can you just speak in one line? I think, what are you doing?
Yes, sure. I'm here, and it's a very exciting meeting. Actually, I'm very happy to be part of this. So, to tell you briefly about my research work, I actually work at the intersection of computation and biology. So, mostly my research is geared towards developing algorithms and probabilistic graphical models for answering some questions that are arising from biology. So, like currently, the way I work with, I mostly work with sequencing data, different types of sequencing data. So either these are DNA sequencing data or RNA sequencing data that are generated from either patients or maybe from cell lines under different conditions as well. So oftentimes these data sets are huge. So essentially, then it becomes a big data problem oftentimes. And then the specific goals can vary from one biological problems to another. So, for example, sometimes I work with tumor heterogeneity problems. So we know that cancer tissue is actually very, very heterogeneous. So there are multiple cell subpopulations that are thriving in that tissue. So one of the questions that I'm interested in is, can we identify the mutations specific to each of these cell subpopulation? Because until and unless we know that, we are not going to able to develop the therapy that can actually kill all different types of cancer cells. So this is actually one of the main reasons for cancer to come back, and oftentimes the drug resistance that we see in different cancer patients. So this is one of the project that I'm working on. Apart from that, and this particular project will be actually benefit very much from this SMRT, because then we can actually closely work with the doctors, and we can even monitor some patients who are undergoing certain therapy, and we can actually see the result of the therapy by doing this kind of sequencing and analyzing the
I just want to stop here because we don't have much time.
Okay, sure. So yeah, this is one of the problems that I'm working on, and
I just wanted to tell the audience that Hamim holds a joint appointment at Department of Computer Science and Department of Biological Sciences. So he's one of those with whom we have offered the joint appointment. Then we have maybe Animanshu. You want to briefly go. Animanshu is the head of Chemical Engineering Department, and maybe he can bring in chemical engineering perspective.
Hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me. So my work is in the area of basically biomimetic engineering. So Mother Nature has got several different engineering principles which you can learn from. And so I have studied, for example, bio-inspired adhesion and then bio-inspired fracture, like that. So the idea is that to design experiments by which one can learn that what exactly the physical principles and in many biological systems, and then implement it into our own various applications. So I have come up with a few different ideas and also implemented it. And for example, one of these is a sticky washable adhesive. Then I have a rewritable, reprintable paper. I have also shown that how mosquitoes can prick us without many of the time we do not feel the pain, but mosquitoes can prick. But so how exactly does that? So we have come up with a vibration assisted syringe and multi-tip needles. Then we have also worked on making aspheric optical lenses, so to minimize spherical aberrations. So yeah, so these are the different aspects. So my work is actually associated with biology. So I'm not a biologist, but biological principles. I try to learn. So I think that if SMRT comes up, then I'll be able to use or implement some of the ideas, some of the things that I've developed with the help of clinical for clinical trials and like that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Thank you, Animanshu. Maybe I think I can ask Professor Ganesh to talk about it. Ganesh has been driving really the SMRT and is a leading biologist of the country. So Ganesh, just brief intro of your research. Ganesh, are you there?
Ganesh was there. I can't see right now.
He is there. I think. Can you unmute?
Back.
Yeah, Ganesh, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm a biologist, of course, and I look at genetics. That's my major area. I look into disorders that are caused by genetic defect, mainly that affect the nervous system. So primary interest, of course, in neurodegenerative disorders. That's where I started with. But now we have moved more into the therapeutics because we have models that have created using animals. Now we are screening several lead molecules for the therapy and for some of the disorders. That's my major area of research. Yeah.
And then we also have Jayendran Rao. Jayendran, if you just want to just one line.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I work on gene therapy for human diseases using viral vectors. The whole objective is to develop cost-effective and indigenous technologies so that we can make it affordable in a developing country.
Can you be closer to the mic?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. So the whole idea is gene therapy has been at the forefront for the last decade or so. But the 3 to 4 FDA-approved drug cost between 1 to 2 million US dollars, and therefore the objective is to develop a very cost-effective solution here. We have developed a bouquet of patents, 7 to 8 patents in this field, and I primarily work on retinal dystrophies and liver cancer. And at least for retinal dystrophy, ICMR has given an in-principle approval to start a clinical trial with the technologies that we have developed. So the whole idea is that these are platform technologies, and what we do for retinal dystrophies might be applicable for many of the other COEs and specialities that are planned here. Thank you.
So maybe one more we can take, and then we can. Arjun Ramakrishna is also here.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Arjun. Yes.
Thank you all. Very happy to be part of this. I'm a neuroscientist by training. I've spent the last 15 years working in this field, especially studying how we make decisions. So we study both humans and non-human primate models, especially monkey models, to understand how the brain enables the decisions that we make every day. We look at how we value reward information, stress, effort, and all of that, and especially mood swings and how that affects our decisions. Basically, going into the clinic would be super beneficial for us because we're already running trials where we are able to predict onset of conditions like depression and anxiety, which would mean a lot if we are able to pick up early and treat. So that is basically the kind of work that I do. Thanks.
So thank you. I think we will have one or two later, but maybe Pradeep, we can start with the discussions. And if there are any questions from the any alumni, I'll be happy to take up that.
Sure. So we'll start with our speakers, and then we can continue with the questions in between. I'd like to invite Atul Saran, founder and CEO, Cellmax Life. So he's been working on early cancer detection and prevention. So one of the laudable goal that he has is to screen every person in the world. So please welcome Atul Saran.
Yeah, hi, Pradeep. This is Atul. Thank you for inviting me. And let me just tell you first, I'm an interloper here because I'm actually from the 1981 batch. So I'm sure IIT Kanpur is a much different place now. And like Subir was saying earlier, Pradeep was clever enough to line up the guinea pigs first because this is my first session. But just to echo Subir's comments as well, this is quite incredible. what was presented about the progress, etc. So what I'll do is I'll share a little bit about the company and my learnings in all of this, and hopefully later we can connect the dots as the program moves along. So of course I graduated with an engineering degree in 1981, and I worked in the semiconductor industry here in the US. I got a master's and an MBA in the US along the way, and I actually got into let's say biotech or diagnostics because my mother had passed away of esophageal cancer in India. And it was sudden onset, like cancer is. There's no real symptoms ever for cancer, or mostly. And curiously, my wife in the US had a conclusively negative mammogram, but 2 weeks later, she was detected with early stage breast cancer. So I was at a couple of venture capital firms, and we put this together. I got into it quite naively, and quite honestly, it's become a labor of love. But there's a few things I learned that are very different from, let's say, entrepreneurial endeavor in technology versus in healthcare, medicine, or biotech. Okay, so number one, as the professor earlier indicated, especially in the US, clinical data is the key. Okay, if you really want to make an impact, let's say if you want to have a diagnostic, and we do diagnostics, I'm not a pharma guy, you cannot have a successful diagnostic test that can pass regulation and get reimbursement unless you have huge amount of clinical data. Okay, so whatever the thought process is about enabling clinical data is key. Number two, it is a very multidisciplinary endeavor, which again echoes the planning that's already in place. I'm reasonably familiar with the Stanford Biodesign program as an example. I haven't been through it myself, but I've worked with people, hired people from the program. It is an excellent program. And part of the reason, again, echoing the comments that the professor was making earlier, was because they enroll MDs and engineers and anybody from various disciplines into the same program, who spend time working together. And it goes beyond sort of just the let's say the theoretical or the research aspects. There's a lot of practical vectors, like regarding regulation, reimbursement, and that varies, of course, whether you're doing a device or a test, etc. That's the second thing, which is the multidisciplinary nature. The third thing is, the time cycles are long. Okay, so in tech, you're used to creating a product and taking it to market. And at least in my limited experience, that seldom works if you want to create a lasting enterprise, because and some of these are not as advanced in developing countries or like India, but in the US, or especially in the US, the regulation and the reimbursement must be considered. It's a very complex ecosystem to introduce a product or a test and to make it successful, which inherently means that you need a longer time scale, and you need to plan for much longer capital. And the last comment I will make is that if you look at this as a funnel, comparing it to tech, there is a huge amount of basic research, okay, that's ongoing. And I would say that, again, compared to tech, there's very little of that. I'm not saying it's not valuable. That's very little of that finds practical applications, and then very little of that eventually makes it to true commercial success. So it is, for me, it's been the most interesting thing I've ever done, but also honestly the most challenging, right? We've been doing it now for 7-8 years. We do run trials in both US as well as in Taiwan, but it's a long road. So I'll stop there, and if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them now or later.
Yep, Professor Karandikar, any question?
No, I completely agree with him, and those are actually the problems in Indian context as well. But in Indian context, there are even more challenges, in the sense that there is some regulatory haziness in the Indian context. I mean, in the regulation, also are not very clearly defined in many sense. And as I was saying, that even in terms of medical devices, there is no clarity on the testing and certification processes. In fact, we ran into these problems in a very severe way when IIT Kanpur had developed the mechanical invasive ventilator last year during COVID period. And there was really no clarity on what kind of these devices require which kind of certifications. And in fact, now, as I said, that we are setting up a center which will be doing the testing and certification of some kind of medical devices. But then, other processes in terms of the clinical validations, whether it is, a device or whether it is a drug, is yes. I mean, there are issues there.
So Professor Abhay, this is Atul again. If you don't mind, I'll make a comment on that, because that's a key point you make, right? You could have created the world's best, ventilator, right? And then how do you convince people, with a modicum of certification, let's say, that it can be used? And I'll give you a quick example without taking up too much time. In diagnostics for, let's say, blood tests, whether it's for infectious diseases or oncology, one of the macro changes that's happened is that, as you guys know, next generation sequencing has hugely declined in price, and you can do much deeper sequencing. So as a result, a little bit like developing apps on the Apple operating system, there's a lot of like 100,000 lab developed tests, in the US now, right? So when you're going to a clinic, a hospital, or a doctor with a test, they have no way of differentiating it. They don't know. Similar example as Professor Abhay was saying about the ventilator. Is this a good ventilator or not? So, our original goal was actually to have low-cost blood tests that we wanted to market in large population countries like India. But we got, and, we work with all the major labs in India today, but we got stuck because, they were looking for something else that would, make this, for them, some sort of certification similar to the story Professor Abhay was describing on the ventilator. From their standpoint, how do they know if this is good or not good? So ultimately, they all start looking at FDA or some other, certification. Sorry, Pradeep, I'll stop now.
But there was a lot of practical advice that you gave, and this is something which doesn't come easy. So excellent thoughts from you. And second thing you said about guinea pig, so that was not the idea. Idea was who will set us the direction, and I think it was well set. So you're well set for the next speaker. Thank you, Atul, for joining us and sharing these views. We have Vikas Bandawat, Associate Professor, School of Biomedical Engineering, Drexel University, and he's been working on animal behavior for complex interaction around the animal nervous system. So his approach has been to look at recording, imaging, quantitative, and several other techniques that we've been using. So please welcome Vikas to share his thoughts with us.
Hi. Yeah, it's great to be here. Like the other speakers, it's very impressive. The plans for SMART. So what I want to take my 3-4 minutes sort of to tell you about my journey from IIT. Briefly, I focus much of my time on the research I do and how potentially we can collaborate. And then I'll end with talking about how potentially my university, Drexel University, could be your partner in these efforts. Currently I would define myself as a neuroengineer or a biomedical engineer. And so my journey at IIT, I was a integrated chemistry. I was very much into basic science from very early on, and was going to do grad school in chemistry until in my last year a course that was taught by Professor P.K. Ghosh at that time. He's retired since then. It was a course in neuroscience, and I immediately decided to change course and do neuroscience. From there, I did my graduate degree at Johns Hopkins Medical School, where I worked at the level of single neurons. So I'm trying to understand the sensitivity of protective neurons. And that project was very much biophysics. From there, I moved on to do my postdoctoral work at Harvard Medical School, where I started trying to understand how neural circuits work. And the work that I did there is very close to what the work that Nitin Gupta in IIT Kanpur is doing. Has a very similar flavor. And then I started my own lab at Duke University in the biology department. I was there for many years, and I have decided to move to biomedical engineering just last year for many of the same reasons that sort of underpin SMART, as you'll see when I describe my research. So the bottom line right now, what my lab we want to understand is just simple things that we do effortlessly, like walking around, say, our house or to a coffee shop. You think of these things as simple, but really they're quite complex, and they involve computations that sort of unfold on multiple time scales, right? So, take the example of just simple walking. When you're walking, there's the world is flying by you or moving by you. And so you are using these visual cues to keep walking straight, right? And then there is the thing of just moving your legs rhythmically, one step after the other. Might seem simple, but any mechanical engineer would appreciate that, we just as standing is not a very stable system, right? So it's in a dynamic equilibrium that your nervous system is making adjustment on each movement. And so once you start moving, anytime you move your hand or leg, you're liable to fall down. So there's a balance and so on. So what we want to understand is the computations that undergo these continuous sensing and assessing of our environment and using this information to drive behavior. And this general problem can be sort of divided into three parts, or be divided into three parts. First part is the brain, right? So very broadly speaking, the sensing and assessing of environment reflect computation performed by the dense network of neurons in our brain. And the human brain has about 10 to the power 10 neurons, very, very large number of neurons. And therefore, what we are doing is really trying to understand these computations in a much more tractable system, that of fruit flies, which is still substantial. It has about 100,000 neurons. It's quite complex. Flies are on their own are truly amazing. They are just about 3 millimeters long, and yet can do phenomenal things. They weigh just a milligram. So if you're trying to design good robots, your fly is your thing. Biomimetics, you want to do biomimetics, flies are a really good system. But more importantly for me, the processes that enable flies to do behavior are really, really similar to those that are done by larger brains like ours. And so what we are trying to understand brains by really recording from the fly's brain in vivo, basically, while the fly is doing its thing, its behavior. We record from the fly's brain. We have lots of genetic tools in the fly, which is the other reason to work on the flies, so that we can activate and inactivate single neurons in the fly's brain and ask what is the effect on the overall computation. So that's the first part, where we are really assessing the brains of the fly using either imaging from neurons in the brain or recording from neurons in the brain.
So because for the time perspective, I would also like you to share the areas of collaboration that you mentioned, which are possible.
So then the other parts of my research is trying to understand how muscles are driven by the brain, and then finally how interactions between body and environment. So these are sort of mechanical models. So essentially, my research encompasses not only knowing basic biology, like genetics and molecular biology, but we combine it with lots of tools in engineering, like electrical engineering, a lot of computational tools, such as deep learning and hierarchical models, and of course, mechanics. A lot of what I do, I can see faculty in IIT Kanpur with whom I might have overlap. And then finally, I think I'm at Drexel University, and I am in the biomedical engineering and health sciences department, which is kind of similar to the goals for the SMART. And we are stand-alone school, and that allows us to move be very nimble in terms of collaboration. In fact, we have recently have a memorandum of understanding with IIT Kanpur for starting a joint graduate programs between IIT Kanpur and Drexel, our department at Drexel. And I think that and finally we are in Philadelphia, very easy to access, and in the Northeast Corridor. So whether it be through my research or through other people in my department, I'm very happy to facilitate.
Excellent. Thanks. Yeah, Professor Karandikar.
No, I think as you rightly mentioned, in fact, we are in talks with Drexel University to start a joint master's program. And right now, we are finalizing to start a joint master's program in management and entrepreneurship, actually, with the Drexel. But yes, I mean, it can be extended to other fields and disciplines as well. But I think we are in talks with the Drexel to, in fact, we have signed an MOU, as you said, and yeah, we can start the joint master's program.
Yeah,
that's great. So thank you, Vikas, and sharing your thoughts and interesting things where we could work together. May I invite Dibanu Das, co-founder and CEO Accelero Biostructures. He is expert in broad range of proteins and drug targets. So besides drug discovery, he's worked in pharma, biotech, and it covers most of the healthcare. So please welcome Dibanu Das.
Thanks, everybody. Great to be here. I'll start with Professor Karandikar's timeline on BCSD starting in 2001. So I'll take the journey a bit behind that, before that. So Vikas and I were classmates. So we joined IIT Kanpur in 1993, and I had a long-standing interest in drug discovery and chemistry because of a lot of doctors in my family. So I always wondered where these drugs were coming from, how they were made, who was doing them. And so when I came to IIT Kanpur, after doing all the core courses and engineering stuff, very soon when we started getting into more core programs in our department, I was really nudged into looking at biophysics and biochemistry through courses with Pinaki Gupta Bhaya, Dr. Shobhasaji Sarkar, and PK Ghosh, moving into biochemistry, biophysics, and neuroscience, and learning a lot of things over summer internships as well. Now, eventually, I moved totally into working in drug discovery, and I'll tell you a bit about my journey there and how I think it fits in with what IIT Kanpur is doing with the SMRT program. So in the US, once I graduated and I came immediately to graduate school for my PhD, since then, I've actually trained or worked in 4 universities or entities, national labs that have all medical schools associated with them, starting from Rutgers University, then Indiana University School of Medicine, UC Berkeley, UC San Francisco, which is UC San Francisco, is UC Berkeley's medical school next to each other. And then finally at SLAC National Lab, which is based at Stanford in Menlo Park, also very closely associated with the Stanford Research Biosciences Department and Medical Center. So I worked very closely with the interface of engineering and biology and really focusing on drug discovery, which encompasses everything from biology, chemistry, biophysics, computing, and so on. So it has been very fulfilling, and I think I've really seen the value of what integration of an engineering school or a technology school with biosciences can do. It can really work wonders, and I think it can take IIT Kanpur and the country to new heights. And I'm happy to help in what way I can in these discussions. I started my own company after all these years of training. I started my own company 7 years ago, Accelero Biostructures, focusing on drug discovery platforms using ultra-high throughput X-ray crystallography that we had been developing for over 15 years. And we essentially look for new methods for drugging targets using high throughput crystallography by library screening of compounds. And then 2 years ago, I started my second company, which Exposed Therapeutics, which is focusing on oncology therapeutics, targeting looking at DNA damage response, how DNA repair in our body mismatch of that causes cancer, and it essentially uses technology that has come out of the platform in the first company. So all of this really aligns very well and is in the trajectory of early drug discovery and how that relates to engineering and sciences. And I wish IIT Kanpur would also be able to integrate all of this, combining the value propositions in the BCSB departments, and now I see that you have cross appointments between computer science, mechanical engineering, and BCSB. And now if you integrate that with SMRT, I think it can really sort of complete the circle that Dr. Karandikar was showing and fill in that gap to take the institute to new heights. So I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Devanu. In fact, there is a plan, as I mentioned, to set up a center of excellence in drug discovery and virology. In fact, we have a couple of faculty, in fact, Dibyendu Das, Jayendran Rao, as he said, I think, are the colleagues which come closest to this, and there are others. So there is indeed a plan to set up a center of excellence, and I believe there will be a synergy between that center and what your company is doing going forward, I think. Yeah,
thank you, Dibanu. I think there are a lot of areas where
I saw the list of things you were looking for.
Yeah. Thanks.
I was looking at the list of things that you were looking for synergies, and I think certainly there are roles to play there. Yeah.
Yes. So I think we'll take this offline. Of course, we'll make comments, and I think we'll reach out as the time goes.
Yeah, so there are great areas where one can work together, and that this is great because we have this competence center also, which is in line. So we'll take now a look at a little different side, talking a lot about drug in the last few speakers. We have Tushar Singh, Director Commercial Excellence and PO in Genetics, Abbott Healthcare. He's been working in the area of the customer service, shared service, managed service, all in the pharma and the healthcare industry. So welcome Tushar Singh to share his thoughts and the expertise.
Thanks, Pradeep. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. It's wonderful to be here. This is my first, participation in the U&I session, and I came to know about this through my bad Tarun. Great to be here. Fantastic to hear the plans around the whole SMRP initiative, and congratulations to the institute and the director to make that happen. Graduated in '94 with a bachelor's in chemical engineering. At the time, it was difficult to visualize. The campus would or the institute would come to this situation or this position. So post my, post graduating from IIT Kanpur, I got an MBA from Ahmedabad, worked in financial services and telecom before kind of drifting into pharmaceuticals around 10 years back. It's been an extremely interesting journey. So I'll just touch upon two topics which are kind of close to my heart. One is affordable and accessible healthcare, especially in the Indian context. So actually, the business which I handle for Abbott is not genetics; it's generics. So and the main objective is to provide quality pharmaceuticals at an affordable price to Indian patients. Now, if I look at the Indian context, we are in a somewhat unique situation where India has both the problems of the third world countries as well as first world countries. So we still have the old scourge of communicable diseases like tuberculosis, still kind of they're rampant across the country, and then we have an increasing load of non-communicable diseases like like cardiac disease, diabetes, and so on. So when it comes to affordable and accessible healthcare, so and this is a personal view, is that I think the fundamental technologies, whether it's diagnostics, pharmaceuticals, are available today to make that happen. What is missing is or rather, key thing which is missing is kind of the right policy framework and also viable viable healthcare delivery models, which bring all these together and kind of make healthcare, accessible as well as affordable. I was extremely happy to hear that Dr. Devi Shetty is part of this initiative at IIT Kanpur. He has done seminal work in the area of making healthcare affordable in India. And and honestly, if you look at what he has done, he has. I mean, I would not say that he's really innovated around medical technology. It's about using the principles of operations management to make healthcare more affordable. So I think that's one area where so while I didn't see that in terms of participants from the side of the institute, but that's one area where, let's say, the management school or the industrial engineering department could really contribute in terms of making the whole the delivery chain much more efficient. The good part is that in India, our healthcare delivery systems are fairly, are low cost, but that does not mean they're efficient. I think there's still a lot of room to improve efficiency. I mean, they're low cost because a lot of the inputs like salaries, etc., are lower than other parts of the world. So that is one area, where potential. I think there's a potential area to collaborate between industry and the institute. And obviously, having a medical school on the campus kind of would also give you a chance to kind of experiment with different delivery models rather than just the technology per se. I think the second area, which is kind of an area of interest for me, and again, I think an area where the institute and industry could work together fairly closely. So when we look at pure pharmaceuticals, and when I mean pure pharmaceuticals, I mean chemical pharmaceuticals. We and looking at new chemical entities or new molecules, we have kind of hit an area of diminishing returns. The pipeline of new chemical entities is effectively dry, and whatever comes out, the incremental value added is quite limited. So I think this is an area where in terms of the new area where pharmaceuticals could be more effective is looking at new delivery systems and repurposing old molecules. When I say repurposing old molecules, a classic example is aspirin. It was introduced as a painkiller, but over time it was discovered that it kind of is also useful for cardiac conditions. So I think, and then during COVID times, we heard a lot about old molecules. One of them being dexamethasone, which was effective in COVID. So I think there are a lot of existing chemical entities which could be used for new treatments and new indications. But requires a lot of research, and honestly, industry is not willing to, invest in that kind of research because of cost reasons and ROI. I mean, ROI reasons. A lot of these molecules are commoditized. They are under price controls in various countries, and so kind of it's a challenge from industry perspective. But that's something which public research could potentially take on as well. And definitely, some parts of industry would be more than happy to kind of collaborate in this area. So those are some of the thoughts which I wanted to share with this group. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take them on.
So I think very, very important points that you have made actually. So one, I just wanted to touch upon this affordable healthcare. In fact, this is going to be one of the key areas which I did not elaborate in my slides, but in fact, when the HOSMEC had prepared the detailed project report and the clinical departments that we have decided to form, they have been really formed based upon by doing a study, what is the disease prevalence in the Kanpur city and adjoining areas, and where there is going to be like a patient load, etc. And so that has been sort of taken into account, and we believe that this hospital setup will have a very large goal. I mean, of course, one goal is in terms of the medical research and all that I talked about, but the important goal will be to sort of have a social outreach and provide act as a center of excellence in terms of providing affordable healthcare to this region of Uttar Pradesh state and in and around the city. And that's really, I think, one of the important I would say objectives of the hospitals as such. I think that's point is, and I think as you rightly said that even Dr. Devi Shetty is very keen to work with IIT Kanpur to sort of create technologies in that directions. And as you rightly said, I think he has not been able to create technology per se, because he's not a technologist, but he has done many innovations. And in fact, in our discussions with IIT Kanpur, he has given number of ideas in which IIT Kanpur engineers can work upon, which actually he had in his mind, and then he would like to get those things implemented. So I think that point is actually very, very taken care. And of course, your second point, which could go in some kind of a center of excellence for drug research, is to sort of see whether the some of the existing generics, molecules can be repurposed for solving, some of the diseases. So that is, of course, is an entirely new area of hardcore, sort of drug research, really. Yes, I think.
I think it's a good discussion, and we are able to see there are areas where we are working in line, and of course, industry collaboration is very important, and especially as Tushar said, with respect to certain efficiencies which are associated in trying to get low cost as well. So I'd like to invite now Pankaj Kakkar. He's been waiting at Haridwar, CEO, Healthcare Life Sciences Global Delivery. Pankaj has been in the healthcare space for last 25 years, and he's worked with 3 top healthcare organizations. He has also in between had a medical device startup as CEO, and he's back in the corporate role. So welcome, Pankaj. Pankaj is there on the network, because yeah. Yep, Pankaj.
I think he needs to unmute, Pankaj.
Pankaj, we can't hear you. I think you have to unmute. Now we can see you there. That. Pankaj, otherwise we'll get back to him. We will move to Atul Bansal. Atul Bansal has joined us. I still don't see him on the call. We'll have Professor Mayank Tyagi share his thoughts. He is part of Chevron, Professor of Engineering, LSU, and he's been working in analysis, simulation, fluid dynamics, and heat transfer. All were very difficult subject in our times also. I don't know how you're managing it now. So, Professor.
Just share this, I guess. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for inviting me to join this discussion. Like everybody said, this is also my first such a U&I discussion, and I'm thoroughly enjoying listening to your, really, really cool visionary ideas. So I'm going to take a very little time, but there are lots of ideas that are coming from these things. So the true thing that you have talked about, it is like, as most of us were trained as engineers, and we have forayed into the areas that are typically considered as slightly out of our comfort zone, and we try to look at the problems from bringing our skills on that particular problem. So I have a joint appointment with another center at LSU, Louisiana State University, which is the Center for Computation and Technology. And in the technology space, where we have like other focus area, which is also have bioinformatics and biologists. So I kind of sit with them and then look at their problems. So, majority of the time you say it is like if your skill sets have a tool of like a hammer, you turn every problem into a nail and then use the hammer, right? So my background being computational fluid mechanics, heat transfer, data science, digital twinning. If people are collaborating with me, I most of the time are taking their problems and see how I can create a digital analog in the simulation domain and optimize their performance. Or if I have a lot of data coming from these kinds of systems, how do I actually get insights? So that's the work that I'm doing. But with what I gathered from all your discussions is I think the keywords there being that we are trying to build something like a good ecosystem around IIT Kanpur that can exploit existing strengths and then make it like a center of excellence and all. So there are two key things, or two, maybe you could call it three. One thing I find it is in terms of like US or at least that funding structure that I'm aware of, it is there is a huge role of NIH that is played over here, or the funding from the corporate side that is coming over here. So I think it is extremely important that at IIT Kanpur we sort of have, when we are going vision forward and trying to build these kinds of center of excellence and research, that we understand, some of those things were talked about, even like how clinical data plays a very important role. So we have the right set of foundation to build upon. Second thing is, of course, your human capital, which is the students, faculty, and staff. We are starting and getting into an area where we would need a lot of tie-ups, so, talking about, hospitals, some of the faculty, which is like, we are coming from an engineering side, but we still have a long way to go into the biological sciences area. So while you have major pieces solved over there, but, having the medical schools, because you could say like AIIMS is not doing it, but AIIMS right next to IIT Delhi, right? So launching something like that in an ecosystem in Delhi, that would be very easy for somebody, like if they were to copy the same structure over collaborating with AIIMS, it can happen there also, anywhere in like big hospitals that you have. So I'm just trying to give you an example, like how Johns Hopkins probably just geographically located, strong engineering schools, strong medical schools, MD Anderson at UT Austin, Stanford, these places happen particularly because they're exploiting these kinds of stuff. We at LSU, let's say, we have an Egg Center bioengineering program. We have a health sciences and Pennington biomedical engineering program. So having these kinds of large centers and colleges that are doing these relevant research and then putting them under the umbrella of like a state university or like a big private university, as we were talking about in the case of Stanford, I think it allows these things to seamlessly share resources across, and the students enrolled can go between, colleges. I think IIT Kanpur has to go a little bit of I would like to hear something from the director side. How is the student who is coming out of, like, let's say their high school entering into these kinds of training? Or is it too early for them to train, or should be starting at the postgraduate level? I think you guys have given an excellent vision. I think some of those from the academics perspective, I would like to see some of those details in terms of what's the curriculum planning, how it is going to go, what research area and topics, which industries are going to be collaborating for you to build those medical devices. Things like that are extremely important. On that note, I think within our network, I think we have a lot of if not, they're not directly related to as the IITK alumni, but they still have some connections to IITK. So I have a colleague in medical physics program at LSU. I think her sister-in-law went to LSU, and her brother-in-law is a very famous physicist from LSU. His name is Rajesh Gopakumar. So you probably would remember Gopakumar for, he was a big name physicist, but she's working in the medical physics area, also an NIH recipient. So I think we need to build that network. If you want to kind of look at some perspective, we work on interdisciplinary problems, but I think directly to the questions that Professor Karandikar asked for the Center of Excellence, or let's say somebody is doing in the area of imaging, how is the research carried with the NIH and the academia in US? I think we can learn something from them. So I would definitely take it offline and then bring Professor Joy on a day in connection with you all for some questions that maybe people that are working directly on those topics will be able to answer much better than I could. But I think the lessons learned over here would be looking into these, existing both infrastructures and human resources that we have in that particular location and exploit it the best. So if it is Kanpur and how we are going to do it in Kanpur, then I think you guys have pointed out some of the strengths, just those missing pieces and how we are going to get. So one key idea I would suggest you, like something that I remember, though it happened almost like 15 years ago in my career, is a joint conference and workshops only through invitation done by ExxonMobil, which nobody would, like, I'm in the area of petroleum, so I didn't expect Exxon to actually invite a lot of artificial heart doctors in that conference. So it was half of them was medical scientists and the doctors, practicing doctors, and they were talking about how the designs of artificial heart could inspire learning about what we call is pumps and pipelines. So it was like a common focus workshop where half the audience were like oil and gas engineers, and then the other half was all biomedical doctors. It was a very good, full day discussion, very nice immersive learning. So I would say, start with something where you invite your speakers and get your right audience, like you're already doing with your some of these big name doctors. I think for each of your center of excellence, you will find some really nice collaborations going. I think that's something that I'm going to be looking forward and helping you all with. I can definitely devote my time towards whatever in capacity I can do that. But I think I'm not the most prominent researcher for some of those things that you're looking for in the area of imaging. But I have colleagues that I can actually introduce you all to, take help from and then focus on such workshops. So with that, I think I'll stop. But I think the academic, using the academia in different countries is going to be an excellent approach to enrich. We can come up, like if you want to start, let's say, a curriculum, and you are asking some of the professors that are teaching similar courses at US to kind of spend like a semester to do it. This is how I think in the beginning stages, even IIT Kanpur was established. I think to jump up on, I find that is a big problem. If you start with this big vision and you don't have the faculty and staff to really launch a program, how do you do it? So I think somewhere there we need to kind of sit with Professor Karandikar and then see, how we can help, what kind of courses we should be bringing in for the students, what kind of opportunities we can give to these students to bring in on either industrial internships or academic internships. And I think within IITs like Delhi and Mumbai, I'm aware of at least 2 or 3 professors that I collaborate with that will be very interested in it. I think so. I'll shut up right now. But I just want to, there's so many ideas through this discussion that I'm actually grateful for bringing me on to be part of this vision that you have been working on. But I do find there are a lot more challenges to this road that we may not have acknowledged in this discussion. But good luck. I think I'll be happy to help on every step that Professor Karandikar is laying out. Excellent idea, sir.
Thank you, Mayank. I think yes. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, some issues. We'll be happy to take it offline on many of those academic issues that you have elaborated.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mayank. And just to check again if Pankaj Kakkar is able to connect. So meanwhile, Atal is somewhere around. Pankaj, you there? So meanwhile, Atal is somewhere around.
Hi,
hello?
Mr. Bhargav. This is Atal. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I apologize.
So we definitely want to hear you, and I think you have done some marvelous job so far in your innings, and you have been a promoter of entrepreneurs and startups. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, thank you again for inviting me. And I think from my perspective, I don't have as much experience into medical devices and the program, but obviously kudos to Dr. Karandikar and everyone to pushing it forward. I personally and whatever group I have will be very happy to be the catalyst or a platform to help grow this. We may be a tool for you more than be the driver. So, if at any point there are resources needed, we'd be happy to, contribute to it in terms of, execution and whatnot. But I mean, the speakers are great. I don't have a lot of knowledge about biotech and the research that is going on. But again, thank you so much for inviting.
Thank you, Atal. I think we will definitely reach out to you.
Thank you.
So great. And so Atal, there were other thoughts also which we discussed. I think we will take it, separately, where we will need your push on the entrepreneur, programs. And it'll be great to have your knowledge and experience there.
Sure, and that was something that Dr. Singh and I had conversation with that we'd be happy to again contribute in. And I think to just leveraging what Mayank was saying, I think that is the general spirit. If somehow IIT Kanpur is more like IIT UP, if you will, and extends, let's say, into areas like Noida and others, because of accessibility from the metro area. Granted that it's with the highway, it's 2-3 hours now. It just mentally gives spouses of professors and others to be more connected with the ecosystem. And the idea was, again, I think IIT Kanpur already has expanded there. They have a new campus, I believe. And I might be, shooting off here. But that's something that is a passion that you said we can talk offline, which we could further create a platform for engineers to be entrepreneurs. And there's that missing gap, the fire in the belly, to make them successful from their creative ideas to actually execution. And that's something that, that has been a passion for myself that I'll be happy to, contribute. So if there are engineers who are even in SMRT platform that want to convert their research and concepts into massive, scale, both in terms of executing those ideas into the industries and or, seeking funding and whatnot, 1 or 2 years of coaching and putting them out there kind of concept.
Excellent.
Thank you, Atal. I just wanted to inform that, yes, we have a campus in Noida, and we have now, there is a new building has come up, which will be sort of housing our incubator. In fact, our AgriTech incubator, which is being funded from Gates Foundation and our trust, is already sort of almost done. But we have a whole new building that is getting furnished to, have our extended, arm of incubator there. So yes, I mean, there is a plan in the Noida to expand our incubation activities.
So thanks, Atal, and thanks, Professor. We will also have a short view from Ashish Karandikar. Also, although he said Atal will, tell everything that he has to say, but we're looking at NVIDIA and if there will be something that NVIDIA could offer. Ashish.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, so I'm Ashish. I'm 95 graduate. I spent last almost 20 years of my career in semiconductor, and most of it at NVIDIA. I'm also Abhay's younger brother, so so I have that connection to IIT and
you've got a strong blood connection.
So it's very interesting. This is also my first UNI session. Very very fascinating. I'm certainly not on the drug and the pharma side, but I have been involved on and off within NVIDIA of all the computational side of stuff NVIDIA is doing on the medical. And I personally believe the next generation of medicine is going to be not just the technology is going to play a big role on that, and NVIDIA in particular has been playing a lot of role on the diagnostic sides. I know we have been involved with some of the improvements happening on the MRI and ultrasound with the medical imaging and all the reconstruction using the three-dimensional GPUs, and as well as the NVIDIA with the CUDA and some of the compute applications. We have been very involved with some of the on the computational side, particularly on the imaging and the drug discovery and some of the genomic work which is currently being done. NVIDIA has recently partnered with the upcoming, at least on the UK, on the Cambridge One supercomputer initiative with AstraZeneca and some of the lot of work which is currently being done, particularly on the COVID simulation also. There has been a lot of effort put in from NVIDIA side on that. Yeah, I think my work has particularly been on the semiconductor, mostly on our computational side of things of the company. But I know we have been very involved, and as a company, NVIDIA has been very involved on the healthcare side and creating computational infrastructure for healthcare. So I can certainly help connect the right people and the right dots and see how NVIDIA can help in that space.
Yeah, that will be great, and I think we're looking forward to that because there has been Intel initiative somewhere, but we're looking at NVIDIA because they are into high computing, and that's the way to go in future.
Yeah, definitely will be willing to help.
Yeah, so I think I just wanted to say that we are actually signing up a big deal with IBM for setting up the Center of Excellence for AI in telemedicine, because IBM is also greatly interested in that, and in fact we have proposed to them as some kind of their help in Center of Excellence for AI in medicine. So I think there will be some overlapping areas in that direction. So.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks Ashish for joining in. With a short notice, it's great to have you here. So
thank you for having me. Thanks.
Now we'll go to come to Bangalore boy Tapesh Agarwal. He's CEO founder VEngage.ai. So we've been talking about AI. So he's worked in telecom earlier, diagnostics, and now he's created a startup which is looking at both preventive or the post-operative care driven by AI. Tapesh.
Yeah, hi Pradeep. I think it was a great talk by everyone. Let me first give you when I got the introduction of the IIT Kanpur putting up the hospital. So I was talking to Arun, I remember in the month of October, and I was just talking to him about what I'm planning to do. And then he said IIT Kanpur is putting up a hospital and he is following with Dr. Devi Shetty to be there. So it is great to see that Dr. Devi Shetty is in the board now. So yeah, he is the, I would say, a visionary in the Indian healthcare ecosystem. I clearly see when I was looking at some of the members in the committee, so I can see there is a clear focus on the oncology, where we have both TMH and TMC, especially Dr. Omam Chandy is there. So I see it's a very credible committee that is helping us. My introduction, I graduated in '99, and I think I have been working in Indian healthcare ecosystem for almost now 15 years. And in my last startup, which we were working a lot of work in the radiology space. And I was working with almost, I think, 300 or 400 hospitals in India. So probably have seen various, I would say, challenges, accomplishments of both private and the government hospitals in India. I just like to share some of the perspective from my whatever I know a bit about Indian healthcare system. So primarily, I would say today most of the hospitals are struggling with the, they still do not have the digital data. Even if you talk about Apollo, AIMS, it's all paper-based workflows. In my suggestion, I have seen only very few because data is the is the kind of oil now, and there's a lot of work is happening on the data side. I would say in the plan we should look at the healthcare IT very clearly, because if we do not start with the right IT platform, it will be too late to later adopt the things, and we will find that data is either settled in silos or it is not in digital format to be used by things like say AI. For that, I would say we should definitely learn from lot of stories in India. So there are some good reference implementations where we can see really doctors typing into the computer, and trust me, it's very, very rare. So those are the things I think we should learn from some of the successful implementation which has happened in Indian context. And again, I like to highlight it is very rare. So if we do not plan it, probably that will be late, and I can definitely help into that. Second thing is, though I saw, and I think we have a great names, I would personally like to suggest CMC Vellore Association. I think that's an institute which has around 150 years of experience. I personally, and I think everyone would agree, it is kind of a Makkah and Medina of Indian healthcare. And there are great things are done there in all these specialties. Some kind of a collaboration with CMC Vellore is something I would like to recommend. West, from my current work, yes, I am into AI, especially looking into the post-operative care for the patients. I would say it's still very early to talk about it. We are still doing some work, but the idea is that patients should not have unnecessarily, stay in the hospital because there is no one to take care of them at home. We are trying to solve that problem. Again, the focus is for the cancer patients who require a lot of care when they are at home. So that's from my side. Once again, I see a great progress on SMRT and like to be help association whichever way I can be of help. Thanks.
Thank you, Tapesh. I think you have very ground level experience in India. Working with 400 hospitals is a great amount of data that you anyway have. And what you're saying, they don't have the data of the patients, and a lot of automation potential is there, and we should not miss out on that. So thanks, Tapesh. And I'll go to our last speaker before we open Q&A. Pankaj Mittal, who is co-founder for AB Hospitals. His mission has been healthcare for all, promoting indigenous products at affordable prices. So these are some of the topics that we've touched earlier, but over to you, Pankaj, to share your journey and what we could do potentially for SMRT.
Yeah, thanks, Pradeep. This is my second meeting with SMRT. We had an informal meeting last month where I met Rajiv, okay, and we discussed a couple of things in Delhi. Currently, I'm associated with two companies, one on the healthcare delivery, where we are making general surgeries affordable. We are able to offer general surgeries at Ayushman Bharat prices in private setups. Okay, that is.
Pankaj, we cannot see you. I mean, is the video off or?
No, my video is on.
Okay. Fine, I think. Yep.
No mind. Go ahead, Pankaj.
Yeah, so I'm associated with two companies. One is into healthcare delivery, that is AB Hospitals, where we are making general surgeries affordable, providing these surgeries at Ayushman Bharat rates. Okay, and this not only requires operational efficiency, okay, but also requires a lot of medical devices to be redesigned, okay, according to Indian needs, according to perform surgeries at large scale, okay, and reducing cost. That is very important. And second, I'm associated with the manufacturing of medical devices. We have got two factories which largely manufacture medical and surgical consumables. Okay, and my association with the biotechnology department goes 3 years back, where when I visited IIT Kanpur and we also suggested one of the medical devices to be designed to reduce cost of hemorrhoid, okay, especially the stapler hemorrhoid. So currently, a stapler hemorrhoid is a single-use device, okay, and we wanted this device to be used multiple times by having only the stapler to be changed, and the entire device can be preserved for 10 to 15 surgeries. And the cost would have reduced from about 22,000 for a single time device to about 1,200 rupees when we are changing the stapler. So those kind of changes we can make to reduce cost of surgeries, okay, when we are offering it to large population. So on the other hand side, we can also offer services on the manufacturing side in case there are devices which are being designed at IIT Kanpur or SMRT. Okay, we are open for any kind of manufacturing collaboration or taking these devices to large number of hospitals, government hospitals. So yeah, so that is all from my side. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj. And like most of the times, we little bit overshoot the time, but I will hand over to Rajiv to take the Q&A. And if there are people who have questions, Rajiv, to you.
Thank you, Pradeep. I think the session has been very exciting, and listening to all the alums about what they have done, I think phenomenal. I think every batch seems to be doing more and more and better and better. I don't see too many questions. I think during the session, questions have been coming, and Professor Karindekar has been responding. So if there's some more questions, just put on the question box, and we will take it up. I do want to mention one thing which I did hear from many speakers, that this is my first UNI. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. This is supposed to be first for everyone. We started the UNI in January. This is the fourth session, but we have covered batches from 1979 through 1999. And in every session, we had a bunch of 5 or 6 batches. So for the batches which are in this particular session, this is the only session which we are holding for you guys. Of course, you are welcome to join any other future Q&A session. So if you feel this is your first one, don't worry, you're not missed anything. The second thing which I want to mention is that over the past 3 UNIs, we have had close to 400 plus alums attend the session live. And the YouTube recording is going to be there, available to everyone post the session for this event as well. But the past 3 have been seen by 1,600 plus visitors. I assume most of them are alums, and those who missed the session, they looked at the YouTube. So we do have a cohort of close to 2,000 alums from the past 3 sessions who are actively interested in SMRT, and they are looking engaged. So I do want to invite Kapil Kaul to give some data about the fundraising which we have done so far, and then I'll come back after Kapil finishes. So Kapil, is with you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thanks, Rajiv. So thank you, everyone. I know we're running a little bit behind schedule. So I'll quickly give you a sense of what we've been doing on the fundraising side at SMRT. So to start with, as Professor Karindekar mentioned in the beginning, that we're looking at raising 600 crores for the first phase of SMRT, and where we stand on that today, that we have commitments close to 122 odd crores, and we have a reasonably strong pipeline also, which is close to 224 crores. So, and we're hoping that out of the pipeline that we have, we are also able to close another, say, 150 crores. So, which will put us in a good stead, I would say. But going forward, again, over the next 2 to 3 months, we're looking at crossing 300 crores in terms of our commitments, so that we're able to really give this project a push. Overall, we have a prospect pool that we are chasing, and we have close to 800 crores. And I would say alumni have been leading the pack. UNI, reunions, these are various platforms through which alumni have come back to us and have actually come forth and chosen to give for this project. So from 76 batch, there is an alum from 1975 batch that we're talking to. There is a batch of 1996's committed 20 crores. So SMRT is a part of what they're looking at funding. There is something from 84 also. So very clearly, when we started out, we said that we're looking at alumni supporting around 250 to 300 crores, and we seem to be headed in that direction. So the biggest naming opportunity that we have at SMRT is the naming of the hospital. We've kept it at 200 crores at this point of time. But we're looking at if there is a philanthropist or a business group which is keen on this, on having the naming opportunity. There's a lot of prestige attached to it. So this is one possibility that is there. We have various departments within the SMRT fold. This include nephrology, neurology, cardiology, gastroenterology, oncology, and we also have the whole surgical setup for all of these departments. And these departments can be named after individuals, groups, companies, at starting with 30 crores. And oncology, because it has a separate building for itself, the naming for that building comes at 50 crores. So then the next piece that we're working out, especially for alumni and individual donors, is the League of Founders. And this is a very important thing, because these people will be the founders of SMRT for life. They will be the people who will play a critical role in building out this school. And it starts with the founder circle on top. This is going to be a very select group, and which will be, founder circle will have 4 members, and one position already has been taken by an alum here. And these people will be recognized on a separate donor wall. There will be a donor appreciation event. They'll get a membership at the SMRT board, and every time someone clicks on the SMRT website, these people very clearly will be reflected as the part of the founders circle. So we're looking at 20 crores to be a part of this circle, $2.5 million. The next in line is the principal founders, and again, similar treatment, except they won't get membership on the board, and this comes at 10 crores. And followed by co-founders at 10 crore, at 5 crores, and founding patrons at 2 crores. And these are principal founders. We're looking at 6, co-founders 10, and founding patrons 20. So that is, we're looking at an overall number of 40 in this cohort. We also have, as Professor Karandikar mentioned, we have multiple centers of excellence that we're coming up with, and each of these centers of excellence can be named at 30 crores. And we're primarily looking at, besides individual, I would say more than individuals, we're looking at corporate partners to come on board through their CSR programs and research partnerships to partner with us here and help us build out these COEs. And we're very happy to offer them naming opportunity here. We're also looking at...
I just thought I would mention that out of these 9, the COE on AI has been taken by IBM, so that one is gone. Yeah.
Yes.
That one is gone.
Yes. Thanks for pointing out, Rajiv. And we're also looking at because one thing we're very keen on doing is attracting the best talent into the school. And when I say talent, is the faculty, existing practicing doctors. So among the best we want to bring in among the best in this space to come to IIT Kanpur. We have the IIT Kanpur name that will attract them, but we also want to offer them chairs and the right position. So we're looking at setting up 10 chairs and each chair coming at 2.5 crores. Also for the younger doctors who come in to take these programs, we're looking at setting up super specialty fellowships, and that would be at say 20 fellowships at 1.5 crores. And so that's in the making. And
I think this is one area where I think all the alums can also help in two ways. One is, of course, to support by financial grant, and the other is to identify people, because the success of SMRT will also depend on how good researchers and faculty we have. And you guys have a lot of connect. Many of you are working in the universities, so do look out and point to us who are the people who may be who are good researchers and who may be useful for SMRT. Even if they're there for short term, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, also fine.
Yeah. So what essentially is our ask? What we expect our alums to do here is see, as individuals, as batches, you can leave your legacy and also create an impact by contributing to this ambitious project. See, you can do it on your own or collectively as a batch. It's going to create some serious long-term impact. And we'd also seek your help in influencing the companies that you work with to support the SMRT project through your company's CSR programs, and also spread the word amongst your batch and community, because we get, say, 100 people on a call, 150 people on a call. The batches are much bigger. So if we have 6 batches here, we're talking about 1,800 to 2,000 people. So if the words spreads around to them and they have our contact details, we're happy to share these thoughts, these ideas, the whole concept of SMRT with them in detail, and help us build this out as a very strong long-term proposition at IIT Kanpur. So that's it from me. Thank you. Any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Kapil. Before I move on to vote of thanks, I would ask Professor Karandikar in case he would like to make any concluding comment.
No, I think it has been a really great event. As I already mentioned, that this is, of course, an ambitious project. We had started as soon as I had joined here as a director, and 2018 and 19, we worked on sort of preparing the groundwork. And now in 2021, it is looking like that it will become a reality. Just from the timeline perspective, I would like to mention here that we would like to close all the fundings by June. And then, since simultaneously we have also engaged with a consultant to prepare the building plans and the hospital and the school building plans, etc. So our hope is that we will be able to start the construction activity or the groundbreaking ceremony from 2nd November, our foundation day of the institute. And, that could be the sort of a starting of the, the foundation day. And then it will take 2 more years for the entire facility to come up. So I think that is roughly the plan.
Thank you, Professor Karandikar. As I see from outside in, there are quite a few unique things about this project. Number one is a blue ocean strategy of IIT Kanpur to do something entirely different from what other IITs are doing, to put engineering medicine together. Very common outside India, but not common in India. Second is a multidisciplinary. You have seen how various faculty are collaborating, and is going to be one umbrella for research. Third, most important, is privately funded, 100% privately funded, which brings its own nuances. It gives you freedom of doing things, and it also brings accountability and some more accuracy in terms of timeline and execution. Last but not the least, this is one project where we are seeing huge alumni support. Huge. I mean, I've never seen this kind of support from alumni on any other initiative which IIT Kanpur may have taken in the past. With that, I would now bring in Shamen Narayan. All of you know Shamen took charge as the president of Alumni Association last month, and he has been very supportive of UNI events. He has attended 2 of them earlier, one when his batch attended and one more before that. And he has been advising and giving suggestions on many improvements which Pradeep and I have made on these programs. So Shamen, if you are there, you can unmute and open your camera so we can all see you. And over to you for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Rajiv, and it's a pleasure to attend part of this program today. I was busy with something else in the early part. I think what occurs to me is that it's a great startup story in some ways. There was a vision which I can see Professor Karandikar brought in, using a blue ocean strategy. And then, funding is to be arranged, the ideas have to be collected. And the way I see this UNI thing going is, I think it's a great collaboration of minds. And I think we have some of the best people, in the world, as we all claim to say. And this platform is bringing them together. One is, of course, for idea sharing. Second is for getting the connections. Many of them are willing to put their efforts, and also many of them will also fund or help to fund. So I think it's a great initiative happening, and I think it's a great platform for somebody later to copy, because you can't take a patent on this. So, but overall, it's like a great success story building up, as I can see. Today, my role is to offer a vote of thanks to everybody. So first of all, I must thank all you great speakers who are showing a lot of passion and energy and commitment and an offer to help, either through your knowledge or through your connections or through money. I think that's great. So thank you very much for doing that. I also want to thank all the batch people who have come from so many batches I can see, starting from 93 to 97, 98, which is great. I must thank Professor Karandikar for leading this. It's always a pleasure to listen to him. He's always smiling. He doesn't show up any tension of anything. I mean, it's quite a tribute to see him. A director who is quite smiley and good-natured. So thank you, Professor, for thinking about this vision, leading the vision, and then everybody's chipping in to make it happen. Rajiv Swarup, I think you have been one of the strategists on this UNI platform. You're doing a great job. I think, as you were mentioning, that good old days, people used to send emails. It doesn't work anymore. You have to get them involved, and I think there's a great job happening. Pradeep Bhargava, I think he obviously has leveraged the connections he has built up over the last few years as president, and he seems to be relishing every moment of it. I can see that. So thank you to him also. Kapil Kaul, who is leading all these funding initiatives, and he has a very nice way to collect money in different buckets, which I think a lot of people will be very happy to, support. So that's a great stuff. And many people who have come from the institute in this program, I think all of you are doing a great job. I think thank you to everybody. I think we just keep doing the momentum, and I think Professor Gandekar's vision of creating this hospital, as he said when he joined, he had this vision, and I think it will happen in next 2 years' time. So thank you very much, and good night to India folks. And I don't know what to say to others because there could be something else happening. Good morning, good afternoon, or whatever. So thank you very much. Good night to everybody.
Thank you. So we now conclude this session. Thank you very much for coming, and this session is now concluded.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.